Hi, Jamie. Thank you so much for being my muse, for holding space for me to share my insights and allowing me to be a guest in your aura. Here is your ink blot made in your name and essence. I'm just going to move it. If you want to take a screenshot, so you can scry in your own time and terms for shapes and symbols that speak to your psyche and psychic senses. All right. Jamie, you know the drill. I'm going to take a moment here to close the eyes, cleanse the palette of perception, releasing the race and the rush, activating the abstract mind and ancient awareness to perceive and receive symbolic support. All right, let's go. Jamie. So, and to source Jamie, thank you for making your reading public to inspire the collective. So if anyone else resonates, please know it is made public with permission. A few things that came through when I was doing the ink blot. You remind me of somebody quite specifically that I know. I'm going to say I know. She has since passed, but her name was Kim. And there's, and just people have familiar auras. You seem to have this familiar aura. And she had like a candle shop and soaps. She lived out in the country here, not too far away, in this country home. And when you walked into her front shop, it was the smell, the scent that captured. It was, and we always used to say, like, if you could capture that scent in a bottle, because it was just her signature scent. So I don't know if that relates to you. If there's a certain scent that it's like your home, and every time we would walk in there, it would be there's that smell. And it was something not only about all her products, because I don't feel like this is why it's coming up. It's everything. You can't place it to one candle, one soap, or something or other. And in this case, those were the symbols. It's almost like there's so many energies that add to a scent. It's impossible to recreate because everything's in it, and it's the scent of home. I don't know how else to say that, but I wrote down here scent that soothes. So that's what it makes me feel like when I'm in your aura. And then there's also this, and she was very humble, like a hard work, but it's almost like nobody ever knew. And even when she wasn't well, nobody knew. I don't know if that's something that is familiar to you. And then on the other hand, I have this other woman that I know, and she's such a deep diver into how do I say like the psychosis kind of stuff, the realm of more than meets the eye, and there's this eagerness. So on one hand, I have like this really beautiful soothing scent of I'm home, and when I feel that, when I walk into that in your aura, I immediately, like, stress falls off my shoulders. And then when I go down the other rabbit hole, and not that it's stressful, it's almost like an excitement or an anticipation of the unknown, and it feels well, but it just carries a different, it's like I get excited to go out, and then I get excited to come home. It's kind of like that weird introvert, extrovert kind of vibe. Anyway, so that's what it is. Something about blue, and it came through like something about Mary. So there could be a sense of humor that is carried really, really well. I felt like blue was in your aura. I also got vibes of like Capricorn goat, very earth, only through the elements. I'm not necessarily looking to be right or wrong. If you're familiar, that's not my jam, to looking to be right or wrong, but noticing what comes through. And it was very earth and water. The song by Extreme, More Than Words, came through. I'm going to sing, so get ready for horrible tunage, but more than words, la di da da di da da da. Baby, I love you. It's not the words I want to hear from you. Something like that. So I don't know if there was a love, like a high school sweetheart, or just somebody really prominent, somebody maybe in spirit that just loves you more than words. I also got like Orphan Annie vibes. Your higher self is so sweet, so sweet. Tranquility. I heard good boy. So I don't know if this is like a catchphrase, like, oh, good boy, good boy. I don't know. Or good boy. I feel self-sufficient, strong, and crystal eyes. So there's something about the eyes that came through, and the image that came through is an eye that I have on an angel board, spirit board, call it what you will. And it led me to go look it up, what it actually means in relation to that board. And it means releasing of overwhelming emotions. Yep. So in and amongst that, I was like, it could be like when you cry, it's like how I feel, of course. It's like I'm crying crystals. The purity of that release of emotions, like even like maybe it happens at nighttime or in like pinnacle of poses, like a tear might fall in the purity of the release of what I'm feeling. And it doesn't necessarily feel like a release in a rejection, like I'm releasing it to rid of it. It feels like a relationship with it. That's how it feels. So very pure. It's fun because it's like this feistiness on this one hand, and this not feistiness, but a fiercity and the strong self-sufficientness that exists. And then on the other hand, it's not this other hand in a polarity. I want that to be very clear, because it also just feels like this quiet humbleness where you make magic, like the scent of something, and maybe you know all the parts, but still the recipe is never known. What in your life, like you couldn't place one thing to say, oh, is it my house or my relationships, my children, my job? Nothing is the only thing that brings about the sensation of home. They are all part of it. Anyway, so that's how I felt. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to dive in here, Scrying. I also have your poker hand here that came out. So I have here the song, Fairy of Youth, take a snapshot if you'd like. The Green Woman, the Smith, and the Pan. Okay, so there's those crystal eyes. I feel like you might have had an imaginary friend when you were a child. Or there's always this playful spirit in nature. Oh, and that's what came through just before I was getting ready to start your reading. I'm not going to remember it correctly, but I wrote it down. I feel like I know the nature of my nature. Knowing the nature of my nature. And even when I think about that for a second, I think of all the layers of life and the organic nature around me, from dirt to soil to trees to this to that, the other, all those layers. And I feel like whether or not they're known in an intellectual space, like being in your aura, I appreciate. I'm aware. I may not know everything about everything, but I'm aware, and I'm so appreciative. And that song, the coming through with the blue emotions. Again, it's in that eye space. It's almost like I can see empathically with my eyes. That maybe that's in the appreciation. And the scent is like a song. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting stuck in there. This is how I feel like your energy is. Very heart, throat, and man, you have a chin. Like, again, it's like that, what is that saying? Chin off the old block or something. I don't know. That's probably not right. But you've also taken some punches, you know what I mean? And you have a strong jaw, this presence that won't be taken advantage of, but you're kind about it. And there's something about Mother Nature loves you. And not that Mother Nature doesn't love everybody. Well, maybe, I don't know. Who am I? There's a cross appreciation, and there's something very specific that I cannot put my finger on, because there's all these things, this alchemy in your environment, oracally speaking. I can't place it on one thing. It's an appreciation. So whatever it is that you may do for a living, as as a living being, and you may express it in jobs, tasks, people, places, and things, those elements seem to have an appreciation back because you're such a hard worker. So I'm always, working, creating. And there are people in spirit that watch you work, including nature spirit. So when I say spirit, not only, verbatim thinking dead people or those in the afterlife, the spirit of things, the spirit of a rock, the spirit of land, the spirit of animals, the spirit of the sun, the spirit of drinking water, the spirit of having fun, the spirit of laughing, the spirit of planets. Do you know what I'm saying? They all, like in the Smith card there, they all watch you work because I think they're invested in you as well. And this could also be expressed in other people. Maybe you have other projects. Maybe there's things that you do collaboratively or collectively. People invest in you. It's just by watching whatever it is that you do. Whatever movement that you do, they watch you. And then we have the pan here, which could be sun, or it could also be your inner child as well. But I do have here, with the fairy of youth and the pan, like it leans me into both the male and female energies of the self embodied here earthly, that they are always having a little bit of fun, maybe get into a little bit of trouble here and there, a little bit of mischief, curiosity. And then there's like this oversoul feeling, still a part of you, or the higher self that kind of watches over this. Now you might also have two children. You might have a daughter and a son, or you might have a son and your inner child has built a really good relationship with the inner child to inner child, to keep that part alive and to work on that. There's also a relationship. Again, there's that earth and that water feel. Okay, I haven't even gotten to your ink blot, so I'm gonna dig in here if you don't mind. I get all distracted, get all excited. Okay. I want to note, like, even your ink blot looks like a flame that's not a flame in the more traditional way. Excuse me. You know those things that you would put in fire so that they make it all colorful? That's what it feels like. Yeah, it feels like colored fire. Sorry, I'm just going to get a little agua. All right, I'm going to dig in here. There's, okay. Something about a frog in the throat. I don't know if sometimes maybe you hold back on things. Wisdom. Sometimes it's like, I don't want to say that because I don't want to hurt somebody, but there's like an emotional intelligence. I'm seeing binoculars. I'm seeing a serpent. And when I say a serpent, I'm... okay. It's a shaman serpent. Shamanic. Yeah, shamanic in nature. So whatever that might mean to you, I feel like it's a strength. It's not necessarily in what one may perceive as like a predator. Obviously, it's like words. Words can be a wisdom or a weapon, right? So there's this totality of understanding. I really don't need to explain it to you. But for simplicity's sake, if anyone else is listening, that's how I roll. So you might have a resonance with this because it's also turning into a turtle. There's something about a tribe coming through. They feel aggressive, but it's because they're strong, and it's like looking at a snake. They don't, to me, as Stephanie, they don't look approachable. But they have silver in here. So it's also drawing me into like a reptilian thing. If you land in like starseed skies, and it keeps coming through, and I'm even stumbling around it. It's like looking at all of the human race and saying, in this blanket way, we're good, bad, or ugly. And I kind of feel like I'm in this weird realm as well with the reptilian or serpents. That there's a portion of them that have very good intentions. They have utilized their serpent skills, their reptilian skills, for the betterment of building relationships and resonance with others, different creatures. Does this make sense? So it's like almost as if like two seemingly tribes that wouldn't get along now get along. But there's something about a peacemaker in that work is always being done to establish peace. I could be like, I feel like I'm way out here in the aura, but I say that, but then because it comes down into the land. So there could be something about the land you live on. There could be something about the land you walk or where you live. There could be a history of some sort of like tribe on tribe. And there could also just be a familiarity of not judging an entire reptilian race based on the majority. Okay, so, and you could be working with that. It could be actually inherently like in your bones, like you understand the strength of that. But there's something about like, I'm going to say it, a shaman stick. I have no idea what that is. Perhaps it means something to you. Because I'm seeing like that's like, yeah, it's like the shaman stick thing. I don't even know what else to call it. There's at least 2 feathers on it. There's, okay, like, right, so there's the face, and it's almost like this is the big furry, like a pimp almost, you know what I mean? It's just like one of those, like the stereotypical pimps, but it's really feathers, and it's very, very soft, and that's almost like in an effort to make it the energy of this shaman stick spirit feel more comfortable. Because if like the cloak was open in like a flasher kind of way, so this is very fun the way this is coming through in like not that flashers are fun, but you know what I mean, in flasher, the structure of the being could be a little frightening because it's not put together the same way. So I don't know if you have these creatures around you or these beings, or you're familiar with what I'm saying and I naturally have no idea and the nonsense makes complete sense, or it's simply a story of like pieces are going to come in and inspire something. But this is what it feels like. So there is an energy, starseed kind of feel, something in the subconscious realm. Again, it could be a spirit that works to make their auric field more comfortable for you, and vice versa, because you actually match somewhere. That effort, the respect, the knowledge builds the bridge. But it's even so much as almost like the bones of being human could be just as off-putting to another race. And this isn't about focusing on each other's like, oh, this is adding a nice cloak. It's a nice cloak of feathers to cover what could be uncomfortable, because it's not the point. It's not the point. It's building the relationship and the resonance. And it feels all very cosmic. Like in those colorings in there. That's why I feel like I keep being drawn up and then back down. And then this fire comes in where the hues are pinky purple. Sorry, give me a second. I got distracted in there when I like jumped into your fire. Like I felt like a fire walker. Okay, so now I feel like it's a smudge in your ink blot, and I'm going to do my very, very best to share this without completely butchering it. So I'm like right there. That's where I'm at. There is a being that is, I don't know if there's a teaching, a playing, but I'm kind of getting the vibe of like teaching a kid how to ride a bicycle, and then at some point in time you release the hand on the back of the bike. The second being is smaller. It looks like a surfboard. It's not a bicycle of any sorts, but it's like going from one side of the cliff to the other. Like in this, it feels like an adventure. And the kid is, oh, what is that? What is that? Thank you. I'm going to say the kid only in size because it's not about being kid, adult, wise, old, young. They're just beings. And I don't know which one is you or both, or you can place who is who. Sorry. The surfboard thing, the motion that this other smaller being is, it's like, what kind of skiing is that? You know, when they go down that big ramp, they don't have any pole things. They just have the skis, and then they do this very specific motion when they're shooting through the air. That's what this is. This other being is doing. So, and as these two, it's like seeing, you know, a parent and a part of the child at a playground. Again, I don't want to get stuck on those archetypes. They could mean something. It could be your shadow and your shine. It could be your male and your female. It could be you and your child. It could also be your guardian, birth guardian, like birth guide. So as this is happening, there's an even larger set of eyes through those binoculars that checks in on you. Yep. Sorry, it's transforming. I'm just going to take a moment here. Somebody's clapping as well. It's like, you know, when you see a kid in a pool or something, they're like, Mom, look, Mom, look. And you're like, oh, that's great. But there's actually like people clapping. They're golden creatures clapping. And the landscape this is in, because there's a gap that's utilizing like the risk factor, which maybe this is Earth, maybe it's this lifetime, maybe it's an overall essence. I'm not really sure. It looks like land. It looks like a Grand Canyon-y. If I had to, like clay and rocks and dry. But somehow it also looks like coral reef. I don't know if that used to be underwater and now it's not. Any sort of mountains or something like that. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Sorry. I feel like I got very, very lost in there. And I'm just up here. Like that's where I was. Something about bluebells. I feel like I've been through some storms. Where am I going? No, we're going up there. Okay. These storms have left scars. But when I say scars, it's almost like markings. You know how back in the day they would, you know, like in cave drawings, and like that tells a whole story just by pictures versus words. Maybe it's like a photo album. Maybe it's within the self, the body. And I see you like telling stories to people. And maybe it's like this other, I don't want to say other family, but like just an exchange of information with the higher realms, the subconscious. I think it happens in the subconscious state, landscape of sorts, dreams, whatever one wants to call it. Unconscious, subconscious, preconscious, whatever it is. Meditative state. because I feel like I'm at camp now. Interesting. Like swapping stories. I'm seeing a teddy bear and I'm seeing tusks. No, we're switching. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm going to keep moving on down here. The storms are starting to fade away. Your aura in general makes me feel like watercolor. Not acrylic, not oil, not like a room painted or a house decorated, quite specifically, like rustic and reclaimed. Just feels like watercolor. I'm in this blue part here. Sorry, that's why I have here sorrow, disappointment, and integrity that's come through. Feeler. Yeah, you're okay. All right. Do I want one more? Sorry, no, sorry. Got to go with the call. Okay. Thank you. Trust is on the bottom. So what's sorrow and disappointment has come through? And I am right in here. Let's see if I can put that guy. In the storms that I was talking about. And then I have integrity, feeler, and learner. Okay, so we're in this cloak. Oh, it's switching on me. I love it. But it's still a cloak. So it's not like the pimp cloak anymore. Now it's like your cloak. And like this wild hair. Like wild, messy hair. Okay, so your ink is transforming on me. All those other stories are great. But I'm going to go with what I'm seeing. So say this is the bone structure of your being in the here and now. And then there's this cloak of like feeling and emotions. And then there's this, the oversoul or like higher self, the spirit. It's like the earthly existence, the emotional existence, and the ethereal existence stacked. Okay. So it's opening up for me to dive deeper in here with the sorrows and disappointments. You've been through some stuff. Chin off the old block. What is that saying? I have no idea. Anyway, I don't know if you resonate with being empathic or just working with empathy. Green Woman, empathy, the song. And now it showed me like, I can go either way. Okay, so 2 rabbit holes. I'll share both ways. One is Medusa, and the other is a banshee. So I don't know if there's been some sort of sorrow and I know we've all been through things, but I feel like there's maybe it is that more than words. La-di-da, la-di-da. I can't, there's no words, okay? So there's no words if you're resonating with this. There's no words in what the sorrow was, this disappointment. Maybe it's even a disappointment in the divine was at some point in time. And I felt broken. I felt very, very broken. And I had to rebuild like that bone structure that felt broken. And then in the integrity, it's in there again. I had to put myself, this is how I'm feeling, put myself back together to reach the temple that inevitably led to another, it's, upholding my integrity through whatever sorrow or disappointment, grief, or straight up anger even. And it's like I walked a lonely path. Maybe I still do to some degree walk a lonely, not because I'm lonely, walking an alone path in some way, shape, or form. Because I had to get back to me. There's that guide. They are massive. If there's you down there, that's this birth guide of sorts. And they were in there as well. And then they still are always looking out. Because maybe, I don't know if it's something about your inner child or children. Maybe you feel you work with children. Maybe you work with people moving through grief and you can feel their sorrows, feel their disappointment. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't, it's like the very beginning with all the candles and soaps in the shop. I can't distinguish one thing because it all makes the whole thing so sweet. Something about a birthday party. I do feel like either it's you or someone in your realm, children, family, is like a crystal child. I know it's like the crystal eye that you have, but there's some sort of power in the healing hands, and it's bringing me into that book, The Healing Hands by Barbara Brennan, maybe. Apologies if I'm butchering that. So maybe I just feel this in this cloak because it's around me and what I work with. Like maybe it's like therapy for people and animals, like a natural therapy, getting to know the nature of my nature, getting to know the nature of my nature of integrity. And in order to do that, I need to feel, and I need to celebrate feeling even the sorrows and the disappointments. Feeling it from other people around me and knowing when it's not mine so I can interact with it like the reptilian. I might feel cold. I might look cold to people, but really it's because if that protection is there, I can assist in feeling with you, but not for you. And maybe sometimes it comes off like the reptilian race where it's cold and unfeely, but really it's quite warm if you're willing to work in a way of not giving it away. And saying, I'm here to feel with you, not for you. And there's something about teaching and learning how to do that. And then I'm seeing like, it's like silent communication, like putting my hand on the earth or putting my hand on something. It could be like psychometry kind of vibes, but this feels more, maybe that's an interest, but this feels like a silent communication, like a Reiki or esoteric healing or polarity work. This is what this feels like. I hope that makes sense. And this comes into like the shamanic roots of it all, where this heart pump is a lotus. My heart pumps for people, but I need to learn how to protect, or I think you may have already have, or we're always continuing to tweak in some way, shape, or form how to do that without coming off cold when you feel so deeply. Dancer of reconciliation. It's, calming that conflict. Because it's not a conflict, but I think maybe it could be perceived as a conflict. It's almost like I want to say, like, if somebody sees me being really warm and nurturing and kind in the typical way that everyone's familiar with say, A, B, or C, or D, your home, your child, your animals, whatever the case may be. And then they might see you in a different space of context and think that you don't care because they're not seeing those same attributes. But it's like, that's my communication way with these things. And in order for me to express and interact with care and compassion, I need to find that language with other people. Or maybe it's within myself. Spirit of love. That blue is so much. Ancestor of guide. Oh my goodness. Jamie, there is so dreams. Okay, thank you. Strength is on the bottom. Hunter of strength. So I'm down here in your shaman roots. I was like talking about, remember when I was saying like the Reiki or something, whether it's hands-on or just hovering above. And I feel like my hands are on the grass. I also have like strong, strong boundaries, earthly boundaries. Why? Because like this comes into like when I'm in the shaman space, but it's like a serpent shaman, the shaman staff, serpent shaman. I'm not really, I don't need to make sense of it. It's fine because it serves. It does serve in this way, but it's like there's, okay, so if the hands go out and it's like, stop. And you're like somebody who directs traffic and they're like, hey, come forward. Okay. It has this ability, this serpent shaman, something about the roots of the heart that I don't, maybe my kindness has been taken advantage of before, or maybe my kindness can be taken as a weakness and it's really my super strength. And that's worth protecting. Because as I was in like the sorrow and disappointment, literally in this reading in and of itself, the spirit of love has come through. And see how like it's all like a leopardy and this felt like broken before, and then it all comes together through this fire that's a flame. That's not a flame, but it's a flame. That's what that feels like. And you have the reconciliation, whether maybe it's even just a reconciliation with reality. The ancestor of guidance has come through, which has come through so many times. I don't even know what to say at this point in time other than, okay. The coloring up here is like the coloring, like the oranges and the yellows. And then when I turn it, it goes down there with the roots towards that heart pump lotus. Hunter of Dreams came through with Dancer of Frustration. So Dancer of Frustration was behind it. So it could be something that working towards dreams, whatever dreams may be. But I also feel like this is in that subconscious state again. That realm of reality where I'm on a mission. And maybe this is, it's kind of like one of those things, like you just feel like you should be able to like just move things, what is it? Or like levitate, or why can't I just move things with my mind? Because like inside, deep inside, within, all the layers of being the oneness, it's like, I know how to do this, but why isn't it easy? And it's something about, again, learning the landscape, Barbara Brenton, learning while we're here with the tools and resources and establishing that relationship. Maybe this is something you do, and this is why maybe you are a teacher of this. Maybe you inherently teach it without even knowing, organically. Or maybe it's something you're building towards, like trying to create like an ebook or a structure about it so you can share this wisdom with others that may be frustrated. Not to say that there's not frustrations within the process in and of itself. Okay, so I have flipped it. I have blabbered on. Seriously, wait, that's okay. It's all good. Okay. I feel like my eyes can sometimes make mountains out of molehills and vice versa. Mountains out of molehills and molehills out of mountains. So I have this ability, that's how I'm feeling, to do that, where I can, make a molehill a mountain and make a mountain a molehill. Something about a volcano. I don't know if that's anger. Okay, so what that makes me feel like, whether it's anger or not, because things can piss us off, right? You can be light as a feather, stiff as a board, a light being extraordinaire, but the reality is that things are going to irritate and aggravate, and that's perfectly fine. Instead of rejecting it, it's getting to it. But I feel like I have I feel as though I have, what's this darn word? I'm going to say things in place. I've learned either strategies or techniques to help alleviate it so that it, for simplicity's sake, I'll say makes the mountain into a molehill. You know what I mean? So it's like I've done things so that when, and it doesn't have to be anger specifically, because I feel like, again, it can apply to many different things. Whatever this technique is that you have, it's like I can apply it to dismantle, to dissipate, and bring about respite, and resolve. It feels really, really, really nice, actually. It feels, whatever, it even could be like a surge of power that's being harnessed within the person. It's like, what am I going to do with this? Woo! You know, like if I get really, really excited or frustrated or anger, apply any degree of those things. It's like, what am I going to do with this? And it's like finding a way to embody it and then dissipate it. And then it's like, you know, I can move it, I can move it, I can move it. Imagine if it moved right there. But you know what I mean. And propel it towards something, whether it fizzles out so it doesn't overdo the circuits or anything like that. Does that make sense? I feel like it does somewhere along the lines. Something about like a priestess energy is here. And then there's that male energy. So there's like male and female energies. Gathering around. The power of community. Lost compass, getting back to integrity. You've had integrity twice. There's that first breath, beginner's mind. It's like you're one of those really, how it feels is that I'm really aware of the value of being a teacher and a student and a teacher. And this is maybe why this whole parent and kid or kid and parent wordage kept coming out, is because I have no problem with it in your aura. It doesn't hurt my ego. Yes, I want to play in the playground and I want to be the head of my household at the same time, or work at a corporate company, whatever the case may be, whatever those things are. It's like I have no problem being a novice and knowledgeable at the same time, knowing my novice brings about the knowledge keeper, the wisdom keeper, if I may, and then the wisdom keeper needs to always remember to be a novice, so that the power is not favoring one too much or the other. But when the dial moves, it moves so that it benefits the all. Gathering around the power of community. I feel like I like family and friends around. I feel happy. Like I can see a smile over my face when my family is around. It's also something about spirit sprites. A lot of earth elements. I feel as though like earth energies and entities work with you quite effortlessly. So the sky and the stars as well, but they're less direct. Yeah, that's not the right way to say that. It's in a different state. It's in a different state. Netcaster. Preparations come to fruition. So this brings me to the princess down here. It's like Princess Peach from Mario Brothers. Right there. Preparations. I really should read things the whole way through. Preparations come to fruition. Oh my God. First of all, I see like if I was preparing a meal for somebody, I get really happy about that. I get really, really happy about that. But this is something about the healer within. I don't know if it's the healing you've been doing on oneself, simultaneously teaching others. Garden of Venus, rest and renewal, horned cactus, resourcefulness. It's about being resourcefulness while you're here in the community of the collective that has decided to be incarnate in a human being. Even knowing while you have other resources in other realities, in other expressions of love. Expressions of love. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I gotta reach over. Ugh, I don't have long enough arms. And it's like when you do things, when you prepare to do things, I don't know what I'm seeing you do. It's like the watercolor. It's like you're just like smudgy. I can't, it's like the candle store. It's like the watercolor. It's your art. There's no definitive line. Like if I was looking at stained glass, with the leading, there's this definitive line of the separation, but that separation serves for an overall clarity when you're standing back. So it's the same essence. It's like a Monet of sorts, where if you're really out close, I can't see, not that there has to be a definitive line. And then you stand back and then the picture appears. This is what it feels like. There is an immense, I think there's a mother in spirit around you, or some sort of motherly figure. I could say for simplicity's sake, it's like a grandparent energies, but there's definitely a birth guide that is large and in charge. I don't know how else to say it, but this other female energy is stepping forward. Something about like maybe like short curly auburn, or like red hair, or ginger blonde, strawberry blonde. I feel like it's almost like in curlers or roses or something. I don't know what it is. But with the resources you seem to have around you, creates Eden here on earth. Eden here on earth. Even though there's been, right? I don't want to dismiss the fact that there's been obvious mountains to climb, deep feeling through the peaks of joy. But this is what I feel like. It was the other way when I was like way in there, remember? And it was like the skier thing. This person's doing it the same way. It's the same kind of motion. And it's like when you learn how to do something and you know you're being guided and watched over. So you take this leap, right? You take the jump, whatever that symbolically means. And you feel that freedom, that feeling. I'm doing it, and I might pass, I might fail, I might fall, but I'm in that moment, that peak. It is transformative, like a master skill. You've mastered it, you'll land, you'll become a teacher, then you'll become a student of something else. I also feel like I'm fishing for something. Maybe it's for other people coming together. Maybe there's in that gathering around and power of community. So I'm all up in this yellow in your ink blot as I'm getting ready to close out. This is where I'm at here. This feels soulmatey. I don't know if you're with a soulmate, or if a soulmate has passed and they are in spirit and are now like your birth or one of your guides. You have passed. I know this card is rock bottom. I just heard been there, done that. And there's that like stained glass feeling. So way at the bottom of this card, see how it's like earth that's dry and cracked, but I saw it as stained glass. It's like even that is beautiful. But I remember what it feels like to be at rock bottom and peaks of joy. Some sort of cycle. Maybe it was a healing cycle. Intention is on the bottom. Some sort of cycle has come to a close. And now I feel better. It's like I can start to feel the benefits of that really flying, really coming together. That's what it, no. Okay. That was a lot. So when I was talking about that, like moving, it's like flying over any sort of sadnesses that I once felt in that particular cycle. Again, this isn't a rejection or a release because in a haste. It's almost now I can look upon that time or those times or even the moments that I'm feeling them in the very much so the present time. And I don't necessarily leap over them to ignore them, but I can move through them with embrace is the key word. It's like my essence embraces others, my essence embraces my own energy when moving through storm fields. Home, making a choice, coming apart, and storm fields. So this was just kind of like a handful that just kind of like bluffed off to the side. So if this doesn't resonate completely, well, it doesn't. It could be energy around you because I feel like I'm at this peak with you. Well, it's like you've taken me up one of the mountains or molehills, and we're coming down the other side. But it's like telling me something. Also, something about the 70s is coming through. Like I'm saying, like was it Austin Powers? And oh, that's funny. Yeah. And like the coloring. Maybe I lost somebody in that time that was really prominent. Maybe you were born in that time. Maybe that's when you popped out into existence, and it's like maybe you're a sad kid. You weren't originally happy to be here, or your empathic abilities created storms in the paths. And I think a lot of empaths share that story. I know I can. Where you feel like you're coming apart to be put back together. But the tragedies and the comedies of all that is, and you make a choice, is it a comedy or is it a tragedy? Or is it come tragedy? Or is it, I don't know, I can't figure out any more words. But inevitably, it's like I've just gone into The Wizard of Oz, and this storm tornado thing has come through. Like the volcanoes picked me up, brought me through the winds. Yeah, there's the storm field, like whoosh. And I felt like things were coming apart. But the whole journey, the whole experience, this could be through some sort of grief, through gratitude with grace. I feel like you've done it with grace. And I had to make a choice, like, as I walked the path, and I wanted to go home. And you were home all along. And especially if you resonate with that starseed or shaman serpent, it's like you are home here. Because there are people, places, and things that are pieces of your heart. And I could never leave them. Earlier. And maybe this is something that you work with, that you sense in other people. This compassion. You know, like when somebody gives you a hug and it feels like home. Is that song Chantal Creviette's Feels Like Home to Me? Feels like home to me. It feels like home to me. I do feel like there was a significant passing around you. Not that everyone's existent, but I'm saying, like, I don't know if it was a partner or a parent. Somebody passed, and it kind of like just rocked my reality. Isn't that funny? But as I said that, I also saw the other rabbit hole of becoming incarnate and passing like through the tunnel of creation. And it could be very reflective of say, that reality, that scope of spirit, whatever the case may be, and upon my incarnation, I was the one who passed and came here. And I think about them. Do you know what I'm saying? Spirals of manifestation. Listening, that's not it. Okay. I'm going to close out here, and then we will, I apologize. I almost forgot to do your smudge. So let me grab my shell here. Thank you so much, Jamie, for being my muse. If I didn't say so already, for holding space for me to share my insights and allowing me to be a guest in your aura. So I'd like to close out here with seeing the true you. And I want to plop that right in there with all that green. It's kind of like I'm seeing the show, The Swamp Thing, and the Swamp Thing is carrying her out of the water. So it's like this love story, inner trust and spirals of manifestation, because I do feel like you were very, very much so connected to many, many moments at once. And that can be overwhelming sometimes. That can be magic. It can be magic. But it inevitably brings me into where I kind of, one place of where I wanted to start was of the inner trust in the green woman. Trust in where your heart is. I feel like that's what you teach, and what, even just by being you. And that doesn't mean that your fire has to be dimmed down. It doesn't mean that you have to put that flame out of fiercity and force. It can be done in so many ways. Truly the magician here is how I'm feeling it. All right. Jamie, if you'd like to close your eyes, take a seat if you're not already, or just make yourself comfortable. Taking a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth if there's any excess of energy, or slowly through the nostrils. You'll feel my energy come up and sit in front of you. Knee to knee, heart to heart, head to head. Bowing in appreciation, gratitude and grace, and giving the sage and smoke permission to cleanse what was, what will be, so we can breathe freely here together. Cleansing the personalities, the mass, what we bring to the forefront of people, places, and things. Jamie, you feel my energy get up and begin to move around the right side of the body. And coming to the back body, I kneel in gratitude and grace of where you've been, your past, your history, which is also happening in the present time in another place. And it's for that I'm grateful. And we'll take a moment to clear and smudge to help not only the present you, but the other yous as well. You begin to smell and sense the smoke moving through your auric field, just like that watercolor. Really moving around the neck and shoulders like a little squench. Anything that's trapped within the traps of the shoulders, cleaning out the lint. Jamie, you feel my energy stand up and move around through the left side, returning back to the forefront. Sitting with you knee to knee, heart to heart, and head to head. With the sage burning in the center, allowing it to dissipate and go where it needs to go, and applying that trust. Palms facing up. We breathe. We sit. We be. Rooted in our realities while we dream. drawing the dreams down into the realities and drawing the reality up to our dreams. As everything swirls through the heart of being the teacher and the student, the master and the novice, all at the same time. I see you, I feel you, and I appreciate you. Thank you. You sense my energy slowly just fading away like your watercolors, more and more water being added to my energy until it becomes clear. Thank you so much, Jamie, for being my muse. I am completely honored. And to all those who decided to watch, I hope this inspired. And until next time.